Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Week 17, the Fantasy Football Championships. Questions are more important than ever, so feel free to ask away throughout this broadcast after the intro. Hello. We are the Going for Two Live Sunday morning crew. My name is Kyle Senra, joining me, however I'm going to say this, stumble through this. Man, I'm tired after last night's concert. It's Jamie Perog and Topher Kurt. Jamie, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Trying to get over these bad games that we had so far. And then we got a bunch more bad games to look forward to today.
Well, I mean, if you're in the Fantasy Football Championships, you might have a championship to look forward to. I'm certainly going to look forward to talking with both of you throughout this. How are you doing, Topher?
I'm not doing too bad. Sorry if my sound quality and stuff's a little different. My mic cord broke this morning, but I'm still here, kicking it, trucking it. So we'll be good.
It's working far better than the Bears offense. So at least
that doesn't take a whole lot. So
there was a hockey game that Thursday night. It was St. Louis Blues versus Nashville Predators, and it was like 7-4, which outscored the football game, which was only 6-3. And Nashville is one of the most disappointing teams this year. Like, I don't know if you guys watch hockey, but like they had a huge offseason where they signed several former Stanley Cup champions, like 60 goals scored, Steven Stamkos, Conn Smythe winner, Jonathan Marchessault. And it was meant to be like, hey, Nashville's all in. They were a playoff team last year. Now they're really gunning for it. They've been awful. Probably the most disappointing team in the NHL this year.
Oh, no.
They still outscored the Bears. So one of the most disappointing NFL teams, although I would say not surprising. I'm pretty sure that was a tweet. But maybe saying welcome champs. I guess if someone had a Week 16 championship, that would apply. But technically, no one is a champion yet, and that's what today is all about.
Yeah,
here for Week 17 fantasy football. Start sick questions. I mean, there's never more important decisions than there is when the title's directly on the line like this. So I hope you guys at least made some finals.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like it was never a doubt. And Jamie's probably in like I played 18 leagues. I guarantee you, Jamie's in 18 finals right now.
No, not that much. Maybe more like 10 or 11.
Well, good for you guys. I lost all 4 of my semifinal matchups, so I got nothing. So we're here to help. It's hilarious enough, though. I finished as the number 9 ranker last week in Fantasy Pros Accuracy Contest. So, hey, I got the rankings right. Still lost all my matchups, but the rankings were good. Even though I definitely messed up. Someone last week, was it Roger, I think, asked about Keenan Allen, Josh Downs, and Jameson Williams. And all of us said Jameson Williams. That 80-yard touchdown bomb was like, okay, yeah, we got that. I definitely said Josh Downs over Keenan Allen. In fact, I think all 3 players scored touchdowns, but Downs had like 30 yards with his team. So he still had an okay game, but definitely you should have listened to these two because they Keenan Allen and he had a monster. So even that, I still did well in the rankings. We're going to do well today. I don't see anyone in the comments yet. Maybe everyone else got eliminated, and they're like, I'm out of it. So I guess, but anyone who is listening, feel free to head over to the Going for Two Live YouTube page. We're also on Facebook and on Twitch, and those places will allow you to comment, like this random character Jamie has here. You can comment, interact with us, and of course, ask us any questions. And typically the basis of the show is just trying to get through these start-sit decisions. So while we are ready, do either of you have any all-important decisions you want to talk through? Maybe it gets the listeners thinking as well, and the viewers. We might come up with some good ideas there, even if it's not about their decisions. Man, speaking. I'll stop. Do you guys have any questions?
I have one. I'm in a guillotine league. And so I've had, I'm in the finals for that, which is awesome. So I have, here are my wide receivers that I'm debating between Brian Thomas, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Devontae Adams.
I think I got all of those in the top 12.
I feel like Devontae and Rodgers is just on a different level right now. He's the one that I'm sitting right now.
Now, is Rodgers even playing? I did hear a rumor he might not play.
See, I thought Adams was didn't practice all week too. It seems like Adams is going to play. I'll get the inactives.
Yeah, it says Adams is going to play.
Okay. I probably would just go AJ Brown. I know he's playing with a backup quarterback. I do like Brian Thomas, but I did hear winds are going to be 30 miles an hour that game.
Oh,
did you guys hear that?
Nope, haven't been checking the weather. I'm out of all the leagues. I don't care.
No.
No, I am trying to win third place in all those leagues. Even though a couple of them are dynasty leagues, and it's probably not that smart to do, but I want third place. I want to win something. So yeah, Jets. Okay, so not every team has its inactive list out yet. Oh, never mind. Just got the Jets. Yeah, Adams and Rodgers are both playing. Unless they've been put on injured reserve. No. Oh, no, Quantez Stiggers isn't playing. Oh, that sucks. Maybe come to Hamilton. No, just kidding. He's chasing his NFL dream. Good for him. Yeah, so it looks like everyone there is healthy. I will tell you, Topher, I have Terry McLaurin at wide receiver 7, Brian Thomas at wide receiver 8, AJ Brown at wide receiver 9, and Devontae Adams at wide receiver 10 in my rankings. Now, talking about this win does make me want to say, should Thomas be the lowest of that group? And you play 3 of these guys or 2?
3 of these guys.
That's nice. Yeah. My first thought was Adams, just with him potentially dealing with an injury, Rodgers potentially dealing with an injury. The risk of if they aggravate it, they might just sit them out for the rest of the game. So now any player could get hurt. So all of them kind of have that risk, but they especially, I think, have the risk. Knowing the motivation, right? The Eagles are still chasing the 1 seed. Washington hasn't technically clinched the playoffs yet, even though they're essentially on the verge of it. They might clinch without even having to play tonight. They play the Sunday night game. If they win, they automatically get in. But if the teams behind them, if they all lose, they might get in and clinch without needing the game. So they're that close to clinching, but still, you gotta think they're motivated to for sure have to win this game.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stress about it the last week. Then you can really manage things. Okay, last week of the season, let's play Mariota. You don't care about that because it's week 18. Although we will be back next week to talk about week 18.
Yes, we will.
It'll be a hectic and stressful, although we're getting practice for it this week with all the inactives. But luckily, a lot of them were announced kind of ahead of time, so we're not necessarily stressing a ton of
Yeah, there's no stressing, there's no scrambling. So would you sit Adams then? Is that
was my first thought. Now, Jamie talking about this wind is kind of throwing a wrench in it, though. If it really is that bad, Mac Jones doesn't seem like the kind of quarterback that can has a strong enough arm that he could just throw through the wind and it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, what are the conditions like in Buffalo, right? Or is that game in New York? It isn't in Buffalo, so do we know the weather in Buffalo? Because that might because if that one's just as windy and you're dealing with the injuries, that might be the reason that I would choose to bench Adams. So it looks like rain.
I also have Bucky Irving as well, but I feel like,
because they're motivated to have to win for sure.
Yeah,
against the Panthers.
Yeah,
is it full point or half point?
I believe half point.
I think I definitely default to the running back there. I think I probably would just bench Adams and Thomas and play Bucky Irving. That's me.
Yeah, I like Irving because I think it's going to be a positive game script also, and we all know Bucky Irving gets more work in those type of games.
Yeah.
Earlier before his injury, he was getting the pass catching work too. There was a game where he had 7 catches and he even had more receptions than Rachaad White. But it does seem like since his back injury, they want to limit his snaps. And where they've been limiting is the third down stuff. Okay, twisting and trying to catch the ball might actually be worse for his back. We think we actually just run up the middle. That's less dangerous to you, but it's also where he's the most effective, and Rachaad White is most effective as a pass catcher. So I actually love both of them this week, but certainly playing Bucky, even if he is splitting work.
Okay.
I'm trying to look. So it is raining in Buffalo. I'm just trying to see how much wind there is. So we're talking about at game time, 21 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 54 kilometers an hour.
What's a kilometer?
Sure, yeah, exactly. I guess you're Canadian. You should know what a kilometer is, Jamie. It's going to get as high as I guess basically wind gusts of 54 kilometers an hour. So I mean, it's about double. So that's like 25 miles an hour winds.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Anything over like 20 to 22, that's where I kind of get nervous. And like those intermediate, long balls.
Now, are you talking the wind gusts or just the wind total?
Just the wind alone, yeah.
Because so this is about maybe about 10 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour. That would be, I think, the most it's getting to. Now the wind again, the specific gust can definitely have more than that, but yeah, the consistent winds, I think it's right now it's saying a peak of 26 kilometers an hour during the game. So again, about 13 miles an hour. It's not quite double, but it's pretty close. So that I think is enough. The injuries that both Adams and Rogers are suffering through is enough. I think that I would just bench Thomas and Adams. Someone mentioned Brown with the backup quarterback. Kenny Pickett knows the assignment. I'm pretty sure Brown had 14 targets last week, with the majority of that coming from Kenny Pickett. So I'm much more concerned about Devontae Smith. That's a guy where the deep throws for Pickett are a struggle, and that's where Smith has kind of made his living. Whereas Brown, they'll play him in the slot, they'll give him the easy underneath. 15 targets last week. 15 targets. He didn't even get hit at 100 yards though, that's the Kenny Pickett problem. But he got a touchdown. So I'm confident enough going with Brown, even with Kenny Pickett. And McLaurin, I think he's a must start. He's got the best quarterback in the league going to. Of course, he's a must start. So I hope that helps, Topher.
Yeah, I think it does. We'll see.
So, Jamie, we're in agreement. Go McLaurin, go Brown, go Bucky.
Yeah, I would do that.
All right. Well, hope you don't get your head cut off. And even if you do, it's the last week, so you don't have to walk around like a headless horseman waiting for the season. It's just already over. Because I guess that's the thing with Guillotine League. Every week feels like it's like an elimination championship. So it feels like it's always most important. But then you get, it's the championship game anyway. Everything is this important. We're all in Guillotine Leagues when it gets to the playoffs.
So I got one for you. So you going off the Rogers, Adams, I have Garrett Wilson. I can start Garendo or McMillan. And just to let you know, I am projected to win by a lot, so it's like I'm not really too worried about this. But I do want to make.
First thought is Garendo's questionable Monday night going against the Lions defense. Like that's kind of recipes that scare me. If I've got both McMillan and Wilson as top 20 wide receivers.
Yeah, I love McMillan this week.
Been on a hot streak.
Yeah,
I do have Wilson ranked higher, but now I'm wondering if that's wrong, and especially with this weather, Rogers injury.
I mean, Wilson hasn't had over 60 yards. He's only had one game over 60 yards in the past 6 games.
And he finished, 114 catches, 10 targets. He was the wide receiver 17. Like that's about his peak since Adams has really taken over. There was a stretch where Wilson had 3 top 6 finishes within a 5-week stretch.
Yep.
And that was kind of right around when the Adams trade happened. So at first I gave, Wilson could still smash even with Adams there. But since Adams has become really fully integrated in the offense, it seems like he's not reaching that.
I think the Jets don't have anything to play for. Bucks definitely do against Carolina. I think McMillan, that's who I'm starting.
The other thing with the Jets is because they're playing the Bills, the Bills don't really have anything to play for. They might. I don't think they've clinched the 2 seed yet. But I also think, does that really matter to them? Like they know they're hosting a playoff game if they're the 2 seed or the 3 seed. Because honestly, right now, if you ask me, the AFC teams in the wild card round, you almost want to be the 5 seed because that means you get the Texans. That almost feels like a win right now, the way they're playing. Every other team that's we'll see. We'll see who gets that last spot in the playoffs. The Broncos almost had a chance to clinch it last night, but they did not. So could be the Broncos, could be the Colts, could be the Dolphins, could be the Chargers. I mean, sure, if you're the 2 seed and the Dolphins somehow sneak in, you probably, Miami, come to Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo will definitely invite that, I think. But I mean, what if the Bengals sneak in? Like, do you really want to be the 2 seed if the Bengals are the 7 seed? Like, that just seems like, man, I'd much rather play the Steelers. Like, I'd much rather be the 3 seed. So I don't know how much Buffalo is really playing for. Yeah. But their defense is still really good. So they could just shut down the Jets entirely. And we've seen the Rams do that last week. So there is some risk there. So I'm feeling McMillan, even though I think I've adjusted my rankings to reflect that.
Yeah, see, like I looked it up on Fantasy Pros, and like 97% said Garrett Wilson, but I don't trust all those.
Yeah.
Like I usually go by my own rankings, but I also have Wilson.
2 minutes ago, I was one of those 97 with the rankings too. So,
so it's like,
and you know what though? I thought I saw Adams was out, so I took him out of the rankings, and I actually had Wilson super high. And then when Adams came back in, I don't think I dropped Wilson enough as a result. So I think that's why he was that high. But I really do feel like he should be out there.
Yeah,
I've got him at 22 right now. I think that feels more appropriate. Whereas McMillan, I've got at wide receiver 18. I don't know if that feels extreme, but like that's where he's been finishing like 3 weeks in a row as top 20 receivers. So
yeah, I mean, it's the secondary for the Panthers, not that great. Baker has like so many incentives he's playing for. I think it's like a completion percentage. I know he wants to get Mike Evans his 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, getting Mike Evans that 1,000 yards is the most important thing, in my opinion.
So yeah, I think McMillan's the play.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
All right, glad we can all be in agreement today. When Wilson's around.
Like, I thought everyone was gonna say, "Oh, it's got to be Garrett Wilson." So I thought it was kind of a stupid question on my part.
I mean, if Adams was out, I might have said that, but because if Adams is out, suddenly Wilson kind of becomes that target where Rodgers is just going to go to. But yeah, so I guess the one thing is Adams. I don't think he practiced at all this week, but the way he and Rodgers play, you don't need to practice. Now we've got it. Like we don't have to worry anymore. Maybe practice earlier in the season was more important when he was just getting to the Jets and okay, it's been 2 years since I've thrown you a pass. Okay, let's get that together. Now that they seem like they have it, like practice is kind of meaningless. So the fact that he didn't practice all week doesn't mean that Wilson's automatically going to get more targets. Where again, my rankings originally reflected that. So sorry for anyone who was relying on my rankings as the number 9 ranker last week.
Nice. Yeah, killing it.
Well, last week, I mean, I was pretty awful most of the rest of the season, but so I got to brag about the 1 week where I do good.
Exactly.
I mean, there were positions I was doing good at. Like Jamie noted a few times where I was a top 5 running back ranker for like the first month.
I'm sure that goal line guide really helped with that.
Well, that's funny because that's the moments where I don't have the goal line guide in the first month of the season. Right? Like I start that week 5 is the first week I publish one. But I also think it gets better as the season goes on. So this isn't the first time. Like I think it was 2 years ago in 2022, I was the number 1 ranker week, whatever the championship week was. That might have still been week 16 that year. So that was huge because oh my God, I was number 1 of everyone in the most important week, and a lot of it was I'm trusting the goal line guide. So I noticed that the more data it collects, a whole season's worth of data, the goal line guide I find gets more accurate.
Yeah.
So I got one more. This is a league. I'm going for the 101 pick, right?
Good luck.
I only got like 2 leagues that do that with the constellation.
Like D does in the All Money In League. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm projected to win 206 to 157. I like my
non-playoff team scoring 206. Man, must have been some bad luck.
Yeah. Like I started Justin Herbert. I started Xavier Worthy. I started Higgins.
Oh, nice. I mean, Higgins is probably going to be the wide receiver 1 on the week.
Yeah.
I don't see someone else scoring 3 touchdowns. Maybe Jefferson.
I did have DK Metcalf and George Pickens in my lineup, both under 10 points. But my question is, for tight end, do I start Kyle Pitts?
Oh, no.
Or do I start Jatavian Sanders?
Oh, no. Okay, that might actually be Pitts. Like, most of the time I'm defaulting against Pitts, but because Sanders, like, he really hasn't seen targets since he's been back from the injury. It was a neck injury, wasn't it? Like, it looked kind of serious and scary. So it was almost a shock that he missed just 1 game, and he has 0 catches since then. He's had 2 targets over the past 3 games. Like, to me, Sanders it's almost like they're redshirting him the rest of the season. So I think you absolutely can't.
Yeah. Who would have thought it's scary to start Kyle Pitts? But ever since week 1, it's like that's been the conversation.
Yeah. True. I mean, he was tight end 3 in week 1. And then that was it. Nothing since. I mean, he's at least he caught 1 pass last week, which is again more than Sanders. So, now because he cost Penix his only interception so far of his career. Does Penix not target Pitts? And they're basically the same. Like, is there anyone else you could pick up? Like, is there?
No, this is a deep dynasty league, man. Yeah. Like, if I look at tight ends, it's Durham.
Payne Durham or Durham?
Wait, hold on. For some reason, Conklin is on waivers.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talk. I mean, every question is a Jets question. It's rainy and Rodgers might be hurt, but like, yeah, he got 7 targets last week coming back from injury. Since the bye week, he's had at least 5 targets every game. So there was before the bye week, he had some of his worst performances. Since they've come back from the bye week, it looks like Rodgers realized, okay, we have to target the tight end. So yeah, I'd pick up Conklin.
So if I do that, I have to drop either Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or Greg Dulcich.
I mean, I'm fine with dropping either of those guys.
Probably Tutu, yeah.
I mean, the tight end premium league.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, is Dulcich your 4th? Like, by picking up Conklin, Dulcich becomes your 4th tight end?
Well, I got Taven Sanders, Hayden Hurst, Dulcich. Yeah.
It's Conklin.
It's Conklin.
I'm okay dropping Dulcich. Like, when are you ever really going to play?
I still believe in his talent, man. You know me with my athletic tight ends, though.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess the idea is like depth at receiver and tight end are probably 2 of the least useful things you need. Like for both of those guys, like how often have you started Atwell this year? Is it like MFL?
Never.
Will actually show you?
Yeah, I think I picked him up just because I put someone on IR.
Open roster spot, might as well. Yeah, those type of I'm fine dropping Atwell. I don't think he's ever
that works.
Be relevant. You know the big concern with Puka is like, what happens after Stafford leaves? Like, I feel like that's the big concern. Well, if Stafford leaves and it's not a good quarterback, Atwell's definitely not ever doing good. And like Puka's going to be there long after Atwell. And maybe Cooper Kupp leaves and Atwell becomes the number 2 guy, but I think there's probably a bigger chance that they get another receiver.
Ooh. Now it's saying I can't drop Atwell because he already played.
Oh yeah. Dulcich already played too then. Oh wait, no, is he still he's not on the Broncos anymore.
No, he's Carolina or Giants. Yeah, Giants.
Oh my God,
yeah. Dulcich. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do Dulcich.
And if you can, like next week, maybe try and just pick him back up and drop Atwell.
Oh yeah, good call.
But yeah, for this week, where your starter, your tight end is probably more important than either of these 2 players. Tony Pollard is inactive, so I guess I was gonna get to the active inactive list, but that is like looking through. That's like really the only big name on here, and that does make this question by Roger Avalos. Hello, Roger. Thanks for coming back. Sorry if it was you who I suggested Josh Downs to last week. I'm sorry. Hope you listen to these 2 geniuses who are actually in fantasy football finals where I'm not. So, no other really big inactive names. So this would be the topic we could focus on with this specific question, but also like where does Spears rank?
I think Spears should be up in that top 12 to 15 for running back.
I wasn't going to quite go that high, but it does feel like he should be in the top 20, I think. I'm at least
yes.
Here's one. Tajay Spears or Breece Hall. I think I want to go Tajay Spears with the Jets playing the Bills defense. But I'm also super low on Hall this week.
All right, so I got London, less than 15 points projected. If you had Spears at RB20, which is where I had Pollard before he got hurt, that's right around the same, about 14, 15 points.
Yeah, I've got London at wide receiver 25. I'm a little lower on him this week.
I think I got him lower than that. Jeez.
I mean, he got 8 targets, and that includes leaving with an injury, but like 8 targets.
You're right. I got him at 25.
8 targets, he scored 8 points. Like that's not great efficiency of targets, and that is maybe the concern of a rookie quarterback making his second ever start now. So I definitely think you play Spears with Pollard. Like this is the advantage, right? Like this is the week you'd want to wait for Spears. Like he's gonna get most of the work. Like this feels like Spears or Madison. That's definitely one of my 3rd place games. I have that decision.
Yeah, I think Spears is the safe way to go.
I knew you'd say that. Alexander Madison? No, forget that guy. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I'm going that same way. I'm going Spears. Absolutely.
So go ahead, Roger. Play Tajay Spears. This is the fortune of getting and I mean he plays the Jags, right? Yeah, that's a bad defense just in general. Like they're super bad against the pass, but they're also not great against the run. So like something he can definitely exploit, I think. All right, bye, Alexander Madison. You leave my lineup now. Yeah, Jags in the league I have Spears. Jags have given up the second most points to running backs, fantasy wise per game. So
yeah,
definitely feels weird because considering Roger, you probably drafted London early, but circumstances changes. You drafted London early thinking we'd get a healthy Kirk Cousins at this point of the year, where like this might actually be better for London with Cousins getting better as the season goes on. It feels like Cousins trusted his Achilles so little that he actually got worse as the season went on, and now so bad that they've had to go to Michael Penix. Like if they just started the year with Michael Penix, by this point you might have more confidence starting London with Penix.
I agree.
So, really feels like the Falcons just cannot make a right decision at quarterback. Oh, let's draft Kyle Pitts instead of Justin Fields. Oh, let's not get Justin Fields. Instead, we'll sign Kirk Cousins to way more money than trading for Justin Fields would have, and we'll draft another quarterback. I mean, might not be better than Fields ever is. So. Oh, thank you, Roger. We appreciate it. You've been fantastic all year.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us this season. We really appreciate it.
So I just got a notification as a rumor. Garrett Wilson could request a trade if Aaron Rodgers remains the Jets quarterback in 2025. So that tells you that Wilson does not like Rodgers.
Well, I think he just doesn't like that. Man, I'm wide open, and you're targeting Allen Lazard, or you're targeting Adams. A ton makes sense, like because Adams is an all-time great receiver, so that should be something that Wilson. I mean, they're alpha receivers; they're going to act a certain way, right? They always think they deserve the ball, but you see Adams and like everything he's done, like that makes sense. But the fact that Lazard, before Adams got there, was getting just as many targets as Wilson was, I love Allen Lazard probably more than most, but no, I wouldn't. Like that, even I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, check this out. This is funny. You know how I just picked up Tyler Conklin?
Yeah.
A minute later, the guy I'm playing picked up Durham. He probably saw that I picked up Conklin. It was like, I need a tight end too. So
Payne Durham or Durham Smythe? Not that it matters because both are useless.
Payne Durham for the Tampa Bay, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, with Otten out, he is the starter. Actually, but that's way better than Durham Smythe. Now that I think about it. My God, the anti-Raz guy, Durham Smythe, man. Jamie must hate him with his negative Raz score. It's not supposed to go to negative, the lowest is 0. Yeah, well, he's so bad. Sorry, Durham Smythe. You're probably not that bad. You're definitely a much better athlete than I am. So but yeah. Any other good questions you guys are pondering right now?
I mean, not really, man. Everything seems set in stone. I mean, I could go Kendra Miller or what's that tight end from the Browns? Akins,
Jordan
Akins. Tight end premium league. I don't know.
But it's the Raiders defense. Kendra's, I mean, how many carries did he get last week? It wasn't as much, I think, as we were expecting, but it was also, they lost 34-0. Like at a certain point, the running back's not going to get a ton of carries in that game script. Against the Raiders, he got 8 carries last week, 2 targets. Hey, season and career high 2 catches and 16 receiving yards last week. The pass catching back, Kendra Miller. I definitely think he'll have a better game against the Raiders. So I really like Kendra Miller. I thought he was a better running back than Jahmyr Gibbs pre-draft. So we're not always right about everything, folks. But I still feel like he's got the talent and he'll get the opportunity. He should get the opportunity here against.
Yes, he should.
I'm just going through our Going for 2 Discord and checking some of the starts questions there.
Well, that's a good call.
All right, start sit form. I'm just going to go to the most recent one. So,
just commented. Zach has a question.
Oh, Zach.
There we go.
Zach.
Yeah, I thought you left us because we probably failed you in the past.
So I thought last week we had what was his? Whatever we said, we were all in agreement with him. We were all in agreement together. So we either all had it right or we all had it wrong. Pick one for PPR. Thank you, Zach, for the question. So, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alexander Madison, Dontavian Wicks, or Raheem Blackshear? What a group of names for championship football.
Wow.
I think just off the bat, I'm thinking Wan'Dale. I know Neighbors is kind of questionable. He even said he might not even play. He doesn't feel comfortable playing. So what if they just use him as a decoy and Wan'Dale gets most of the work?
Yeah, Neighbors is active. So take that for what it will. But it's also Drew Lock. So take that for what it will.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Drew Lock is better than Danny Dimes, right?
I mean, probably not. And I don't think Drew Lock is better for Wan'Dale because he doesn't really dump down. He's a huck it deep kind of guy, right? Like he's gonna maybe target Darius Slayton.
I don't know. I thought Wan'Dale did all right last week. What did he have?
Let's go look it up. I guess that's
12,
my perception of Drew Lock.
12 targets.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
All right, and how many points did he score?
13.2.
So better than Drake London, technically, who got a point per target. He got slightly more than a point per target.
I mean, he also had three targets in the red zone. Like, he didn't get a touchdown, but still, those 3 targets in the red zone, those look nice.
Yeah, he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 5. So goal line guide, it is technically. Oh no, it's a run. No, their goal line grade is not great for the pass. 64.5. It's like 13 points below average. The worst score for reference is 56 passing. So 64.5 isn't that far off from that. So I wouldn't bank on a touchdown from Wan'Dale. Again, target share is good, but I think if you're talking safety, to me, it's Alexander Madison.
He's probably got the best chance just to get 10 points. I don't think he'll get you 14, 15, anything past that.
Yeah, I don't know there's a ton of ceiling with any of these guys, to be fair. That's a good point.
No, I think you go Madison. I think they're playing the Saints as well. Like it's two rough, beat up teams facing each other. It's going to be some sloppy football, and Madison can capitalize on a sloppy play or two and hit Hater. So,
you know what I'm going to do for you, Zach? I'm going to read out all of the goal line grades for these players, and then that way, like you get the touchdown upside. So I mentioned the Giants, 64.5, and that's -8 relative to their run score. So yeah, not great touchdown odds there. Raiders rushing goal line grade is 84.75, which is 24.5 points higher than their passing grade. The Saints have allowed a 58% touchdown rate on carries inside the 5 this year.
Oh my gosh.
One of the worst rates allowed. The Cowboys are the worst at 75%, just for reference sake. They're abnormally bad. So, yeah, right off the bat, I think Madison probably does pose the touchdown upside. Let's see. Dontavian Wicks. Packers passing goal line grade is 65, which is, again, essentially what Wan'Dale had. But their run grade is 18 points higher. So you could even argue there's maybe even less touchdown chance for that, as Josh Jacobs has been taking so many of the touchdowns, especially inside the 5.
Yeah.
Wick's best odd as a touchdown, honestly, is a deep pass. That might be where it comes from.
Isn't Christian Watson injured?
Questionable, and I would say he's probably not going to play.
Yeah.
The Packers have clinched the playoffs. They also can't win the division. So they don't have their seed locked up, but they're going to be a 5 through 7 seed. So like they probably aren't going to play him.
He needs upside. So wouldn't Wicks be that 20-point upside type guy? I don't think he's going to get 20 points, but I know he has the ability to get 20 points.
I mean, he has had – let me look. He has had one game this season over 50 yards. And anytime that he has scored above 10 points this season, it has been because of a touchdown.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you're banking on, right? I mean, when you say you need upside, you're kind of trying to look who is most likely to score touchdowns. I still think it's Madison, and that's why my lean would be Madison on the upside. He's had several 15-point games this year.
Yes.
Like in PPR, he's had 4 different games of over 15 points. And guess what? Other than one of those games, he had a touchdown in all of them. So, and that's what it takes. Now, to Jamie's point, without Christian Watson, Wicks might have that upside. I think back to it was the game after the Vikings game where he got hurt. And Wicks had like a ton of targets. So I'm trying to pull that up. Man, I probably ranked Wicks way too low. Where do I have where? Oh yeah, wide receiver 50. Yeah, that probably is too low. Probably need to revise that and rank that higher. Yeah, it was the game Watson left with an injury, and that was pretty early first quarter. He had 13 targets that game, but then every other game he's not hit 8 targets. But even the next week where Watson missed, he had 7 targets for 2 catches and 20 yards. So just because Watson out doesn't automatically mean high ceiling for Wicks, as that Rams game showed. And that was a game where the Packers just like dominated the Rams. Like that was another blowout type game. In this game against the Vikings, you do expect a closer contest. Like that 13 target game against the Vikings, he was wide receiver 3, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. His best fantasy output of the season was against this defense. So that does kind of speak to that. But I also think since then, Romeo Doubs had that game where he sat out, and since that moment, they've just targeted him a ton. So I still think Dobbs is actually the biggest beneficiary of Watson being out, not Wicks.
Yes, I think Dobbs definitely is.
So is this between Wan'Dale and Madison?
I think it's between Wicks and Madison, to be honest. I think I'd go Wicks over Wan'Dale, I think. Because like I said, Wan'Dale to me just doesn't provide upside. Like he's a safe floor type receiver, but when you say need upside, he's the one I almost like automatically take out of this.
But wouldn't he be like the safest play that kind of has that upside to get you 14 points?
No, again, I still think it's Madison. Like there's no like Zamir White's on IR, Sincere McCormick's on IR. Like there's no real.
Yeah, they are going to need to use Madison,
especially for the goal line stuff, right? Like he's the guy they're going to go to inside the 5, and that's why against the Saints, I think they'll be there often enough that he scores touchdowns.
I just hate to tell people to start Alexander.
I know you do. Looking for any other excuse. To be fair, Wicks does make sense. I guess I'm just concerned that his one game happened when Watson went out mid-game, and they kind of didn't have any other choice. Like they didn't really plan it. It just kind of happened. But given time to plan, they've never made Wicks that guy. It's been more Dobbs that stuff.
Yeah.
I know he had that one big game.
I mean, I hate
that one game, and I don't know that it's repeatable as Madison's big games. I mean, Madison's best game I think I saw in PPR was 19 points. That's essentially like it was a 22 that Wicks scored. Not that far off. Madison's hit that 15-point threshold more often. I think he's more likely to hit his upside. Whereas I think, Jamie, to your point, Wicks might have the most upside. I just don't know that it's as likely as it is with Madison. That's my concern.
That's fair.
Been able to verbalize it. So, but yeah, I really hate playing Wan'Dale if you need upside. Like that's that feels like Wicks would then become that upside option, I think.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Jamie? Ultimately, like I've talked you through a ton. I know you don't want to say Madison. So what do you? It sounds like your instinct was Wan'Dale from the start.
My instinct, yeah, it is Wan'Dale. Just because I don't think Neighbors is that healthy. They're gonna need to throw at somebody. It's gonna be Wan'Dale.
True.
But again, Madison, like he's the only running back in that backfield. So it's probably between Madison and Wan'Dale. And I'm going to slightly lean Wan'Dale just for the upside because I don't think Madison has any upside.
Okay. And Topher, what do you think?
I'm going Madison. I just think Madison in this kind of game, like you said, they've got reliance on him. They need him. And I think Madison can take advantage and I think he's the most likely out of these 4 to score a touchdown, and that's why I'm choosing him.
Actually, one guy we haven't brought up at all is Raheem Blackshear, because that's a weird name to say for a fantasy championship. Hubbard's on IR, so he is slated to be the lead back. Does he get all the work, or is it split with Mike Boone? Goal line grade for the Panthers rushing is 79, which is just slightly below average. The average for run attacks this week is 82. Still, the Raiders have a higher one, and their differential is also a lot higher. Differential for the Panthers. So, again, I do agree with Topher that I think Madison is most likely to score.
Yeah, I mean, also, you don't have to worry about weather because they're playing in the dome.
Oh yeah,
New Orleans.
It's in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. So maybe it is Madison. I'm gonna say Madison.
I suppose. I mean, in theory, Wicks is playing in a dome too.
Yeah, but yeah.
Whereas Wandale isn't. Like that's outdoors in MetLife, and again, we were talking about Buffalo. It's rainy and some wind. It's not horrible, but definitely, I think you're risking it with that outdoor environment. So
yeah.
I'm sticking with Alexander Battison, as bad as that sounds. So sorry, Jamie. And so sorry,
Yeah,
Zach, that you're in this position, but
I'll agree. I'll go Battison.
Oh wow, yeah. So there we go, Zach. We came to a conclusion eventually, but that's Jamie's bias hesitation against Madison that he looks for anything else. But I mean, because he hasn't been a great player, so we definitely Wicks is very exciting the way that the big catches. Like Madison's not necessarily a guy that's going to break off big plays. You're hoping he gets a 1-yard touchdown or a couple of them. That's what you're banking on, right? It's not overly exciting, but if he gets it, then it's exciting to get all those fantasy points. We'll see.
So would you go like Neighbors or like a Jacoby Myers?
Interesting. I'll check my rankings. They are probably pretty close. My first thought was Neighbors.
Yeah, but then again, we don't know if he's going to be used as a decoy because I swear I heard something that Neighbors even said himself he doesn't think he's going to play. And if a player says that kind of means something.
So he did practice once this week. So at least that's good, where it's not like he didn't practice at all. So I don't know what day he practiced. Yeah, he practiced Friday. So he didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday. And I guess, honestly, I wonder if that was where that came from. Like, well, I'm not practicing. I'm not going to play. But then suddenly he got that Friday practice. And that was the determinant. If he didn't practice Friday, he probably isn't playing. That was just enough to give them confidence. But like you said, Jamie, I mean, not even decoy. They might not plan to have him as a decoy. He goes in the game and aggravates something and they pull him out. Like that could be a super big risk too. So I lost my big league by 2 because Jason Sanders got 33 points.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Well, this is the Going for 2 Live network. Our official policy is to tell you to not play kickers in fantasy football. So,
absolutely.
Sorry, Zach, that you play in a league with kickers. That's all I can say.
That is rough.
Because I mean, like I don't know where. Like I didn't rank Jason Sanders as the kicker number 1 last week. I can't remember where I ranked him exactly, but he was probably like a top 15 guy, maybe in the kicker 1 range, but top 12. But yeah, that's pretty wild. Didn't expect 33 points.
Yeah, see, if you're playing leagues like with kickers, it's more luck. I don't think there's that. It takes that aspect of skill out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain things you look for. Like, I'm going to avoid kickers on teams that aren't going to score points at all. Like this team is so bad that, okay, well, don't play that kicker.
Well, don't you want kickers on bad teams so they like kind of get you more?
Not if they're so bad that they can't even get into field goal range.
Yeah.
All of the Saints against the Packers on Monday night, where they had maybe like 3 plays in Packers territory the whole game. Like, if its offense is so bad, like if they get shut out and score 0 points, that means there's no field goals being made. I've only had 1 shutout this year. Way to go, Packers defense. You got it.
Who's going to win this Packers game? Packers or Vikings?
I mean, just what's Jordan Love's decision making like? Because if he's just throwing stupid interceptions or not throwing wide open receivers when they're wide open and for a touchdown, and like really questioning things, like that gets scary. And I think the Vikings will win the turnover battle in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
4 straight games without interception, or 5 straight games without interception is Jordan Love right now. So he hasn't been turning it over. But again, I don't know what you thought of Topher, but that Christian Watson wide open on that route, and like he looks at him, he looks like he's going to throw it to him, and then he hesitates, and then I don't think he's wide open, even though he's very clearly wide open the entire time, and then just dumps it off to Kraft. And I think they get a touchdown on that drive, but it was one of those where it's like, why get players all those unnecessary hits? Why like force more carries to Josh Jacobs? You're going to just throw in a touchdown to Watson easily. Those type of things concern me with Jordan Love. It's like, man, the decision making still comes and goes. So I think from that perspective, I am concerned, but I'll be confident and say the Packers will win. Unlike last time, it's not like Love. That was his first game back from injury too, so he's in kind of a groove right now. They've won a lot of games. He hasn't thrown an interception, so I think I'll approach it with a positive way to say Love's decision making is going to be peak in this game. Where I almost thought maybe were they overlooking the Saints and trying not to like run. I don't know. They almost overthought things. Like they're like, oh, can't beat them by too much, can we? So yeah, I'll say the Packers, but again, clearly Packers bias on that answer, Jamie.
Yeah.
Topher, do you have confidence that they'll win?
I think anything can happen. I would not say that I have confidence. I just think that both teams are really good, and you can't ever I don't think you can ever sit there and be fully confident when you have, two teams that are this good, especially as division rivals.
It's tough to say like, oh, I'm super confident we'll beat this 13-win team, right? Like, easy. Right?
Exactly.
Like, it's generally not a thing you can say.
So we got a question here from Chris, Uncle Fresh, Brees or Spears. Well, first let's go Neighbors, Brees or Spears. Let's add that
Neighbors as well.
Yeah. So like we talked about earlier.
I'd probably play the two running backs
because, like you said, like he could just be there as a decoy. He could tweak something. They could pull him.
Or Drew Lock just sucks so bad that, like, he plays the whole game and he catches 4 passes for 38 yards. He tried, but Drew Lock sucks.
He tried.
Honestly, like I said, I put Spears in my top 12, 15.
I mean, I have Spears ranked ahead of Brees Hall this week.
So do I.
One of the things that really concerns me about Hall is the Bills' defense. And I think lack of touchdown upside is huge here. The Bills have allowed a 25% touchdown rate on carries inside the 5. And we know how much Rodgers loves to throw to Adams inside the 5. So not a good touchdown week for Brees Hall. And unless he's catching a ton of passes, I don't know that there's a ton of upside. And since he's come back from injury too, kind of like Neighbors, he hasn't really been the same. RB19, RB24 in his 2 games since his injury. So you're not really getting that top 12 upside where you might with Spears. I mean, it's the Jaguars defense, right? Like this is a really bad unit. The complete opposite of the Bills.
Even when Pollard was playing, Spears only had that 7-touch game or something. He outscored Pollard.
So the last 2 weeks he was RB5 and RB10, and he did it on 10 touches the first week and then 13 touches the second week. So even without getting 20 touches, he definitely has that upside. But again, he scored 4 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks, so that is the reason is the touchdowns. But I mean, again, fantasy football championships, that is kind of what you're chasing and going after. With no Pollard, I do agree that Spears has the better touchdown upside than Brees Hall.
I mean, I got Brees Hall ranked all the way down, running back. I don't know, 26.
I've got him at 21.
Okay, so I'm a little lower, but okay, so I do have him at 21.
I don't think it's
Tajay at 12. I'm putting Tajay as a top 12 guy at number 12.
15 for me, but yeah, I'm pretty close there too. So
yeah, I'm definitely
in agreement. Spears ranked ahead of Hall. Sorry, Topher.
No, you're all good. I'm just saying I am team Spears here. Between those two, I almost want to start Neighbors because I feel like Neighbors has a bigger upside. I know what he said, but it's scary. Yeah, but you're not going to go into a championship without taking some risks. I mean, you can do what you want. Something in my gut says go for Neighbors. And yeah, but I could totally be wrong. It's a hell of a risk.
I mean, to your
situation, because I started James Conner, right?
Yeah.
He got me freaking 2 points. I didn't have anyone else to play besides Braylon Allen and I don't know, some other scrub. So I had now if I had a situation where I do have a top 12 running back like Spears, I'm going to play Spears over the Neighbors, the risk of Neighbors. I know Neighbors has that upside.
So is it start 2 be out of these 3 or start 1?
Start 1.
Oh, then Spears easily. I thought for some reason I went to.
Oh, so I was thinking Uncle Fresh had Neighbors in the lineup, and you're seeing that, Jamie. You're like, yeah, I don't think you should.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going with starting Spears out of those 3. Easy for me.
Yeah.
All in agreement.
All right, Tajay Spears, man, here we are, week 17. You got Breece Hall, Malik Neighbors, like top 3-round picks in redraft.
Yes.
Play Tajay Spears over both. Fantasy football.
That's what fantasy football is about, man. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
So we have a Discord, Going for Two Discord, which is free. You can check out the goingfor2.com website if you want to have access to it. There's a Discord button there, and free to join. Never any fees for this, so people can come and interact for free. I know that's not the case with a lot of Discords, so something that Going for Two does. So kudos to Jeff Lambert for creating all this.
Absolutely,
we have all their platforms. There is a start sit form as well, so people can ask start sit questions, such as this one by Brett, Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet or Josh Jacobs. I think it was easily Josh Jacobs. So I'm trying to find one that doesn't involve Thursday players. Okay, this one's interesting. Kretzim? I don't know. I don't know how to say that. They have Jalen Hurts and Tua, and it's a 2 QB league. So with both out, they're doubtful with Tua. Sam Darnold is a 1 start, and they're going to have to pick up Aaron Rodgers, Michael Penix, or Bryce Young. I think Jamie actually interacted with this. Young around QB 20, and Rodgers and Penix 21, 22. I will say I'm not trusting Michael Penix. He hasn't shown enough yet in his second start. He still doesn't have a touchdown. Like I'm not trusting a guy in his second start with the fantasy playoffs on the line. I know Bryce Young's been disappointing, but still, Penix I think is too cute. I predicted the breakout and won a championship with Penix. That would be awesome to say, but I just don't. I've got Rodgers ranked the highest. He's a top 20 guy for me. Yeah, I talked about I think the Jets will really struggle to run the football against the Bills. And it'll force Rodgers into a pass-heavy script. I don't think he's going to be very efficient, but I think based on volume, Rodgers is how I'd want to go.
Yeah, I'm probably going Rodgers as well. He's played well lately, which is crazy, but he has played very well. And if they want to do anything to the Bills, like if they want to ruin, I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with the playoff seeding right now, but if they want to play a little bit of a destroyer with the Bills, they're going to have to rely on Aaron Rodgers. That's my thought.
No, I totally agree. Man, a lot of these start sit questions do have to do with Thursday, Saturday, or Wednesday players. So yeah, that was the few one where I could apply. Sorry, folks, I have not been active in the Discord this week with travels and stuff, so I'm way behind. Some guy named Geoff Lambert. Not sure who that is. Oh, never mind. It involves Najee Harris. Never mind. All right. Sorry, Jeff. It was Rashad White. It was easy. I hope he didn't. All right. 12:24. So. About 5 more minutes, folks, and we'll let these two go set their lineups or fantasy championships and all third place matchups. Fantasy. Gotta love it. Gotta love losing by 16 with a Jalen Hurts concussion. Justin Pierce. Thanks, Jamie. Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. Right at the start of the show, we talked about this. I think this is your question, Topher, right?
Yeah, very similar.
So before you asked us, what were your instincts on your lineup decision?
My instincts were, starting McLaurin over Adams. But it's such a crapshoot because I think they're both going to do great. But I think one of them will just score 5 more points, and it's going to piss some people off like myself. I will tell you that, if you look at their numbers side by side over the past 4 weeks, they each have McLaurin has 6 touchdowns. Adam has 5. McLaurin has had 70 plus yards in 3 games. Adams has had it in 2 games, but he's close. And he also had nearly a 200-yard game. So like, it is literally just, if this is a decision for you, you are lucky. I think they both finish as top 10 wide receivers this week.
I have both ranked as top 10 wide receivers, so I definitely agree with that sentiment.
I lean McLaurin because the Commanders have something more to fight for. That's why I lean that way.
And for extra context, Topher, you had talked about starting 2 of between McLaurin, A.J. Brown, Brian Thomas, Devontae Adams. So it wasn't just strictly one versus the other. Yes. But of that list, McLaurin is the guy I have ranked the highest, and Adams is the guy I have ranked the lowest. And they're all like back-to-back, those 4. But McLaurin is the guy I'm picking.
I'm trying. Hold on. I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, we're trying here too, Jamie.
No, my kids are.
I know. I'm just kidding, Jamie. Don't worry. But yeah, go back to my goal line guide article, and the Commanders have one of the like 2 points to indicate the passing touchdowns could very much be there. We saw it last week, 5 passing touchdowns from Jaden Daniels. Yeah. They have a passing goal line grade of 102.5. For reference sake, I think I referenced it earlier, actually. The Eagles have the highest overall score this week at 110.75. So 102.5 isn't that far off. No. Considering the worst score of the week is like 56. So yeah, 102.5 is up there. It's definitely one of the better scores of the week. And it's looking just at the Commanders themselves, it's 21.5 points higher than their rushing score. Yeah. Passing wise, the second highest differential that favors the pass. The Vikings are the only one better. So like, you could argue the Vikings and the Commanders are the teams with the most upside potential for receiving touchdowns. Yeah. I've got Jefferson ranked as the wide receiver 1 this week. Don't quite have McLaurin there, but wide receiver 7 in my rankings is that's a guy that's a must start to me.
Yeah. We do have 2 more questions that flooded in here. So let's make sure we get those. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, we'll double back, Justin, once considering the weather also. I think we referenced that earlier, right? Like this Buffalo game, rainy, and we talked about it too. One of the hesitations we had on Adams relative to like A.J. Brown and McLaurin was Adams. I don't think he practiced at all this week. So he's clearly not 100%. Rodgers was even questionable too, or not questionable. He also missed some practice time. So like neither is fully healthy, and you get the rain aspect, and you get the Bills defense. Whereas Washington's playing the Falcons. Like that's not an elite defense. Now the Falcons are definitely playing for something. They're playing for their playoff lives. You could argue that like from the opponent's standpoint, Washington's opponent is just as motivated to win if they are. Unlike the Bills are motivated. If they get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, I don't think that's a real big deal. So like they're probably still trying to win games, but they don't have this like do or die urgency that the Falcons might. So in theory, the defense will be better. But I just think Jaden Daniels is so good. Like the Falcons defense doesn't scare me enough like the Bills defense does. So
correct.
In there. We'll double back when Jamie's back, and we'll get back to that, Justin. But so far, Topher and I are saying McLaurin. And I think based on what Jamie was saying earlier when we were talking about Topher's question, I'm pretty sure Jamie would agree.
Sorry, I don't know what I'm agreeing with, but I would definitely go Terry McLaurin. I have him at wide receiver 8. Let's see.
Why so low? Just kidding. I've got him one spot here. I'm just messing with you, dude.
Adams is at 14 for me, and that was before we had that conversation about the whole Aaron Rodgers. So I kind of want to lower Adams a little bit.
Weather, injuries, and neither are like not a major injury concern. It's not major weather, but there's just enough wind that it's
exactly.
There's just enough risks there that mitigate all those risks with McLaurin. Frankly, I think McLaurin is just as much upside. Now, I guess the one problem is that Daniels isn't just going to lock in on Adams and give him all the touchdowns, like as he showed. Oh, Jamison Crowder, here you go. You can have a couple touchdowns. Right? But there could be a game where McLaurin gets multiple of those. I think that's easily attainable, even if we haven't necessarily seen it yet. He's had a couple of 2 touchdowns games this year, but they also haven't necessarily come from, I'm targeting you exclusively in the red zone. It's, you went and you scored a long touchdown.
Yeah.
He's had McLaurin's had 4 games this year with multiple touchdowns.
Yes.
Definitely has that repeated upside.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Damon Carpenter, thank you for building this question for us.
Yes.
Considering Adam Thielen over Malik Neighbors, am I crazy? I think a lot of us really are concerned with Malik Neighbors. Hey, I'm looking forward. The next question also has Malik Neighbors. So he's been the the guy of topic today, he is active, he is playing, but we don't know how many snaps he's going to play. Or like internally, if they decided we're going to hold him out only a certain number of snaps, or they might not plan it, but he might aggravate the injury and then comes out. Jamie even said like they might. The whole plan might just be that he's a decoy out there and he's not going to get any targets at all because they don't want him catching the ball and taking extra hits. So there's tons of risk with Neighbors. So you'd be crazy to say this like earlier this season, considering how bad Bryce Young was playing.
Yeah.
Bryce Young's actually probably the better quarterback over Drew Lock. So,
oh, yeah.
I still have Neighbors higher in my rankings, but man, it really does feel scary.
So, I mean, if Neighbors plays 100%, I have him as wide receiver 13. Thielen is not too far off, down at wide receiver 20. So both wide receiver 2s in my rankings. The only problem is like I don't trust Neighbors. I don't know. I just ever since I heard that he said himself he doesn't think he's going to play, just makes me so nervous.
Well, again, I'm speculating that the only reason he's playing is because he practiced Friday. Like if he had missed one more practice this week, he probably wasn't going to play. So like the margin of him playing or not playing probably was a lot closer. I mean, it really did just come down to a game time decision.
And you mentioned earlier the Drew Lock factor. He's garbage, right? Carolina, man, they're actually competitive. Even though they're not playing for anything, they're always competitive. So
Bryce Young is playing for his future on that team.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Thielen.
And it feels weird to rank it that way. That's why I'm not ranking it that way. But yeah, it does feel strange to try and say like, yeah, Neighbors is the play this week. I mean, touchdown upside does in theory favor the Panthers. 72.5 for the Panthers passing goal line grade. 64.5 for the Giants. Both are below average scores. So
I could see a scenario where Jalen Coker scores more than Neighbors.
Yeah,
it was a situation.
That's fair. Oof. Yeah, I don't think that you're crazy for considering Thielen over Neighbors. I mean, it's a crapshoot. You just have to kind of go with what you've read, what you believe. That's part of fantasy football, is going with your gut, going with the stats around you. Thielen's the safer play.
Yeah.
Neighbors is going to be your boom or bust. I think Thielen's going to give you a solid 10 to 12 points. Is that what you need? Do you need something more? That's how I would look at it.
And I guess from that thought, that does make me want to kind of chase the upside of Neighbors, knowing that it's the fantasy football playoffs. Like,
correct.
Your floor probably isn't going to win it for you when you're playing against arguably the best team, unless you are the best team and you're playing against maybe the second best team.
Yes.
So it's tough to think that you like floor is going to get you there. And so, yeah, definitely not crazy to consider it though. Like, there's a lot of risk with Neighbors, a lot less risk with Thielen. But
I would actually do it. I don't know. That's just me. I would
Jimmy, you're almost thinking that there's more upside with Thielen anyway.
I mean, he's had 15, 20-point games. At the least, he'll get you 10.
Yeah.
Neighbors could be, like I said earlier, James Conner. That's going to get you like 3 points.
Yeah, definitely. You never know. Yeah.
Let's see. One thing, total narrative street, but Thielen has always just been like, amazing to start the year and then just awful at the end. So like this is typically the time of year where he doesn't play well, but what benefit is that he missed like 2 months with an injury. So technically he's still like this is still like the middle of the season for him, like when he's still producing in his mind. So you can't get him more than 10 games in the season and then he won't produce. But this will be game number 9, I'm pretty sure. So like he's still in the range where he should still produce. Gavin.
Now he has a pick 2 question, but he also added Tracy and Downs to this.
Yeah,
so
notice that. So pick 2 of these 5 essentially between Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors, Josh Downs, and a couple of running backs in Rashad White and Tyrone Tracy.
Honestly, I kind of want to say Downs is my number 1.
Yeah,
with Flacco.
That's
he's been awesome with Flacco, and he's been pretty good even with Richardson at times.
Well, I was going to say I think Downs' best game actually came with Richardson.
Yeah, but
he's gotten more consistent.
More consistent with.
Sure, he can be very the whole passing offense just in general gets more volume, more consistent with Flacco.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking here. His best game was 4 catches on 9 targets, 109 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 13 rushing yards. And that was against the Texans, and I'm pretty certain that was one of Richardson's games that he played after being I think he got injured, right? And that's why he missed a few games and then came back and then got benched. If I remember correctly, that was Richardson's first game back from that injury. And that, again, to this point, is Downs' best game. So, I almost feel like the guys that benefit more from Flacco are like Michael Pittman. Like, he seems like a guy that his best games have come with Flacco and not with Richardson.
I'm going Downs as my first choice right here. You have a conundrum here, because you drafted Wilson and Neighbors to trust them. You drafted them to trust them, and you can't fully do that in this week. And Wilson, essentially this last half of the season, you can't. Again,
especially with the rumor that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Neighbors a few days ago thought he wasn't even going to be playing in this game.
Yeah.
Well, that and like Wilson wanting a trade if
the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
now, is that the squeaky wheel thing where Rodgers is like, okay, we got to appease Wilson, going to give him a ton of targets?
No, Rodgers he's the biggest ass in the history of asses. He's going to be like, well, screw you, dude. I'm not going to throw you the ball. I'm not even going to look at you.
I don't know how petty Topher is, but as a Packers fan, I'm incredibly petty. So for the fact that Rodgers played 16 years with the Packers, you thought, yeah, he's probably very petty.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going Downs and geez, man, it's between Neighbors and White.
It's funny because my first thought looking at these 5 names was Rashad White was the guy I wanted to play the most.
Then
against the Panthers,
let's go White.
With the lack of Kate Otten injured and other guys, like they've targeted the running backs a ton. Like Baker's not been afraid to target the running backs as a result of all the injuries to everyone else. So I think White's going to get a ton of targets. There's a ton of touchdown upside there. The Buccaneers have a passing goal line grade of 106. It's the 4th highest overall score of the week. The second highest passing score. I mentioned earlier the Vikings are the highest. And they're good rushing goal line grade, 88, which is above average, but it's still 18 points lower than their passing score. So it does make a huge differential. In that circumstance, Jamie talked about it earlier. He talked about it on his running back rankings episode for the RPO network. So definitely check out that. But Bucky Irving is the positive game script guy. Rashad White is the negative game script guy. And in theory, you see something like this with the goal line grade favoring the pass so much, that does make me want to play White. Want to play both. Like I think Bucky and Wright are almost basically like must start. And then the format, half PPR, which I guess in theory, that's not the best format for Rashad White. Typically we see, okay, half PPR, we favor the running backs because of all the carries they're going to get. Suppose that's not necessarily there with White. If I had to peg any of these players to score a touchdown, I would pick Rashad White. I think that's what makes me lean towards his direction. At least as like the first starter. The second one's honestly super tough.
Gavin says he's leaning White as well. I'd go Downs and White, or I'd go Downs and Neighbors. Those are my two. Those are my two choices.
If you truly think Neighbors is healthy and is going to play a full workload, I would go Neighbors, but I don't believe that. So I would lean White.
I'm almost thinking Garrett Wilson is the wide receiver. Just, again, the squeaky wheel narrative. All this noise about him being upset with these targets. Does Rodgers just do it to appease him? Because, like, at this point, he so gives a little crap about this season that he'll just do it anyway. Like, I could see the opposite, right? Like, oh, well, he doesn't give a crap, so he won't care to do it. But, like, there's another part of him that, like, the ego of it, right? Like, oh, I can make Garrett Wilson good. Like, I'm not the reason Garrett Wilson's bad and, like, force feed him targets. Like, I think you can flip the narrative either way. Wilson, to me, definitely seems like the safer option. I don't know, because, like, Rodgers is bad this year, but I look at these options. He's still very clearly the best quarterback of all these receivers.
Yeah.
So I think that I would go Rashad White and Garrett Wilson, but I think all of us are kind of pointing towards White, which in theory does, like, that's kind of Gavin's instinct. So I think definitely encourage your instinct there of playing Rashad White.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love Joe Flacco. Might be biased because, he made the Browns.
Cleveland savior, the greatest quarterback in Cleveland Browns history.
Exactly.
He made the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, only Baker Mayfield and
Otto Graham. Those are the only 3 quarterbacks that ever made the playoffs for the Browns.
Man.
Yeah, because Otto Graham is clearly the best.
Well, no, I have a game from 1987 on VHS that I watch once in a while from the Dolphins, where the Browns killed the Dolphins the whole game up until halftime. Then halftime, Dolphins came out and crushed the Browns, and that was with Bernie Kosar.
And then I think of like the drive they allowed to, like they're beating the Broncos up until the 2 minutes.
Oh God, yeah. The
There's
fumble,
lots of
the drive.
the name, the Browns. It's just not a name that gives a lot of confidence. Sorry, Jamie. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Flacco did great. Flacco's not as good a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers.
Flacco's awesome.
I mean, he got benched this year for Richardson. Yeah. After Richardson got benched for him, like it got to the point where Flacco was actually playing awful.
Or was it the play calling?
Probably a bit of both, honestly. Who is the play caller?
No idea.
Is it Marcus Brady? I don't know. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the Colts OC is. So, yeah, it seems like Jamie's definitely leaning Josh Downs as the second option behind White. And I think so are you, Topher?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, there we have it. I'm again, the guy that's disagreeing with everyone. But something I think we can all agree is that we all enjoy doing this so much that we're going to be back next week, even though hopefully none of you are playing fantasy football next week. If you are, we're still here to help. But honestly, I don't even need an excuse to want to talk with Topher and Jamie. Just spend an hour and 15 minutes talking football. Even if there's no one else watching, I'd still do it.
I'll have a bunch of best bets, prop bets, player bets. We'll win a bunch of money next week.
There you go.
Hopefully, Gavin, Justin, Damon, Uncle Fresh, Zach, and Roger all win championships this week, and hopefully we help them do that and secure those titles because that's what everyone wants. And hopefully, Topher and Jamie win fantasy football championships.
We don't need to hope for me to. I'm already going to win them.
Fair enough. Hey, nothing wrong with a little hope anyway. I wish I had some. All right. Well, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Once again, the Going for Two Live start, sit, stream. Again, we'll be back one more week next week to finish out the NFL regular season. But appreciate everyone who joined us in the comments. And Jamie, Topher, I appreciate both of you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Oh, thank Kyle. You've been awesome all season.
Absolutely.
Topher, love hanging out with you too.
Same, Jamie.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Jamie, you've been awesome for years on this show, so I'm glad I could join you finally on the Sunday mornings and we could make this happen and get a consistent trio basically every week of the year.
Yeah, we've been pretty solid. I like that.
Choir retreats aside, but that's incredibly important. So
we had a few nice guests. I remember Benjamin, his friend. Like maybe next year we can get some more guests coming on. Like if you're in the chat, like Gavin, I know you're into fantasy football a lot. I talk to you on Facebook a lot. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit me up.
Yeah, we definitely don't mind sharing the love, sharing the exposure, and having guests on. So, yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Topher. Thank you, all the listeners and viewers. And thank you, Jeff Lambert, for creating these great Going for Two Live network. That shows as we get to the offseason, we'll continue to run all throughout the offseason. So, appreciate that. And, yeah, we're at 15 minutes to lock. So, perfect time to end out and say we'll see you next week. Best of luck and go win those titles. Win the ship.